looks mean, it sounds aggressive, it fears no racetrack. It's the Fiat 500 Abarth. And just so we're clear, it really is pronounced Abarth with the silent H. But wait, you ask, isn't the Fiat 500 that harmless little ball of vehicular cuteness? Yes, it is, but there's a sizable chasm between that 500 and this 500. So how do you get from there to here? Listen up. First, you add power, like a lot of power. 160 horsepower may not sound like much, but in a 2,500-pound car, it's plenty. It also represents a healthy 60% increase versus the standard car's adorable 101 horsepower output. One of the really cool things many modern turbocharged engines do is provide lots of pulling power very low in the rev range. This is not one of those engines. Floored, 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 and power! If you want to go fast, keep the revs above 3,500 RPM. Also, push this sport button. It'll give you all of its torque potential, bumping that torque number from 150 pound-feet to 170. Peccadillos of power delivery aside, the Abarth certainly sounds cool. All the sound and kinetic fury comes courtesy of a 1.4-liter turbocharged twin intercooled four-cylinder utilizing Fiat's multi-air technology. For those who are curious, multi-air enables precise control of the intake valves, maximizing torque and fuel efficiency. To deal with the extra oomph, the Abarth features beefier equal-length half shafts that help reduce torque steer and torque transfer control, a feature that uses the front brakes to approximate the function of a limited slip differential. It should also be noted that the world's best drivers used both legs. As such, a revised 5-speed manual is the only transmission offered. A modern 6-speed would seem more appropriate, but based on our experience, the 5-speed works well enough. In preparing the Abarth, Fiat wisely addressed the whole machine, not just the engine. The brakes, for example, have been upgraded with larger front discs and nifty red calipers that squeeze high-performance brake pads. The suspension has also been heavily overhauled. Despite stiffer springs, Koni shocks, and a 0.6-inch lowered ride height, sacrifices to ride comfort versus the regular 500 are absolutely minimal in the Abarth, at least from this seat. Accompanying the mechanical upgrades are more aggressive front and rear fascias, dual exhaust outlets, various Abarth graphics and badges, a large rear spoiler, and unique 16 or optional 17-inch wheels. Inside there are sport seats, a flat-bottom steering wheel, various leather-covered bits, and, the hallmark of true performance cars, abundant red stitching. All told, the 500 Abarth is built for speed and has a visual swagger to match. The Abarth is absolutely more fun than a regular 500 on the streets, but Fiat claims it makes a pretty nifty track car too. Let's see about that. When the power comes on, it really comes on. Lag, lag, blammo! It's kind of like Gary Busey, very calm and then suddenly goes nuts. The lag can be a bit bothersome on the streets, but here on the track where you can drive in constant anger, it's a lot easier to keep the engine boiling. A quick steering ratio enhances agility, but it feels like there's a bit too much play in the steering wheel, a little bit squishy feeling. For a car like this that's going to be driven on the track, a bit more precision would be nice. On the other hand, the car can be balanced with the throttle or the brakes, which is a lot of fun to play with on these long, sweeping corners like this. A couple of the things. The seating position is fairly high, which you'd think would be a bad thing in a car that you're taking on the racetrack, but actually gives you a nice clear view all the way through the corners. I gotta mention the seats. They look cool, but they could really use more lateral support. I feel like I'm clinging to the steering wheel and using my knees to hold myself in place. Something I really like are the pedals. They're nicely placed for heel-toe downshifts. Which leads me to my last point, the brakes. In all this lapping, even after all these really fast straights, I haven't noticed any brake fade, and there's good feel. It's very confidence-inspiring. The Fiat 500 Abarth isn't crazy fast or wildly exotic, but there is an Italian charm to it. It's quick, it's fun to drive, super stylish, and it just sounds mean. Like any bad boy, the Abarth isn't perfect, but those imperfections give it character. They also represent opportunities for improvement that should be addressed by the forthcoming line of Fiat performance parts offered by Mopar. And then there's the Derringer and Abarth's boot, its price tag. For less than $23,000, including destination and a one-day track-focused Abarth driving experience, you get a car that bests the Mini Cooper S, at least in terms of price, if not all-out performance or driving satisfaction. Bottom line, if you long for Italian performance and the prancing horse is out of reach, the Scorpion is happy to dance.